Yeah, actually, we are building AI agents for software production reliability. Developers and engineers are overwhelmed by the amount of data. And then when they want to just fix an issue or understand what is going on the production, they need to go through all these data, correlate all of them together to just understand what is going on, and then, okay, of course, fix it.
We invested at Connect at pre-seed most of the time, so pre-product, pre-revenues, and everything that we assess is the founders. And Poone and Omid are great archetypes and examples of the product founders we love to back at Connect.
For years, they tried to become the data platform that just give full visibility. I would say, yeah, the full visibility is there, but then when you need it, when you need that data and that correlation, it's so hard and time consuming for developers and SREs, of course, to understand what is going on. So engineers are needed to go through all those data, which is like a huge amount of logs, metrics, code changes, and then understand what is going on and then react on that. And at the same time, because the observability that we are seeing today in the market is so, let's say, reactive, meaning that engineers in advance need to think about what they need to measure, what they need to monitor. And if they don't estimate something like that, probably an incident comes up and they don't have an alert for that. And of course, the company is just losing money every minute that they have incidents. So our mindset was building kind of operator, because of that we call it teammate, which is using the data that is already there, not adding another dashboard or another just data, and just being in hands of engineers when they need the top-notch data to just resolve an issue or even proactively understand what is going on to prevent issues.
To build an observability player, it requires a lot of technology. And basically, the only space of improvement is be better at collecting the data. Throw tons of sensors and agents, not AI agents, also AI agents, into the infrastructure and start collecting the data in order to enable people like engineers and reliability engineers to have a full visibility on what's going on, right? But again, there is a red ocean businesses. There are great companies out there doing great data collection and data monitoring. What was the missing part, and is the shift in paradigm that excites us, is actually now the LLMs are very good on collecting not only structured data, which is what observability tools and are doing, but also unstructured data, like your knowledge bases, your what's your GitHub conversations, and by blending this together, you create this intelligence layer on top of the data. So you're not just adding more noise, but you just extract the signals and you go straight to the root causes, which is the job that normally Poone used to do at Criteo as a reliability engineer, site reliability engineers, which is a very hard skills to have. These kind of engineers are very rare. And again, they can't work 24 hours a day. And I love this idea that Poone and me, they were basically on call and they spent a lot of nights be awake to try to fix things, because when an accident happens, basically you're losing money as we speak. And so that is a very hard and critical mission piece of infrastructure that companies has to have. And so this idea that actually LLMs and AI can improve the velocity of resolution, that's in a reactive mode. But also, and this is another great part of Ewake vision, is, well, we can use this to be proactive, right? And not only give this extra intelligence to the production engineer, but we can give it to the entire engineering organization and even to the product team and the sales team and the customer support team. Because again, when the product is down, like customers are calling, partners are calling, everyone is panicking.
Yeah, I do agree that this is not a problem that because we have AI agents, you create a problem. This is a problem that it's been there over years, and everyone wants to solve incidents so faster because it's important and it talks to everyone. But then AI agents are so powerful in reasoning on top of the data that you have, because data of observability tools without any reasoning, it doesn't mean anything for the engineers. It doesn't understand the business of that company, the specific, the special things of that company. For example, if it's a Black Friday in ad tech company, of course you have different production environment. And Observability tools is just like for getting a lot of data, which is, as Pietro said, is so complex. But if you go further, it's developers and engineers that need to understand what is signal among all those data, because a lot of it is just noise. It doesn't speak to them because it's not their language. It's not human language. It's not semantic. It's just metric and logs. And AI agents are very great in just doing and doing and redoing and retrying to just get the best data from the huge amount of data, and then do a reasoning on top of that, because context is the most important thing when it comes to a production. Production is not just code in your laptop, it's the whole business of your company. When we talk about it, it's where your product is facing the users, and it, of course, it talks with everyone, with CTO, with CFO, with customer support. And then it's only developers' job to just understand what is going on, which is, as I said, it's so overwhelming now because they have a lot of noise among all those data as well. But with AI agents, you can just put the guardrails. What we tried a lot to build is like just saying, I don't know, as an AI agent, because you are a teammate as well. So you can say, I didn't find enough context to give you reasoning, which is kind of scoring. And if it is more than, I don't know, 70% sure, you just share that answer. If not, you won't share it. But there are many ways to just tackle this problem as well. And it is kind of different with how we use ChatGPT in day to day.
And obviously, one thing that you have is incredible subject matter expertise, and you've been experiencing the problem that you're solving as well. And I would then go to you, Pietro, to dive a bit deeper on what you said in the beginning, which is why you got excited about Poone and her co-founder as a team to build this, and maybe also expand a bit on the investment thesis of Connect, which is, of course, that you're very product oriented, given that you're a pre-seed, that you're also finding conviction in founders even before there's a product.
The underlying belief is that the best technology companies are product companies. And the reason is because product is the highest and best lever for winning big in venture. Like a product that the customer love fundamentally is your bigger engine for growth and for value creation. And company that and founders that put the product at the center of their strategy and execution are very different beasts than companies that are marketing-led, technology-led, or sales-led. And the reason why is that it's something that we learned over the years, is that great products, they don't grow on trees like apples or oranges, right? So you don't build great products and great product experiences because you want, but it's because you create and foster and design the condition for great products to be built. And these conditions are several, and it starts, of course, with the mindset of the founders. And we know that founders that are not compromising on winning through great products experiences are very singular. They have like very common traits that we have selected and identifies over the years. So if you pick Connect, it's because we align on the value of product as a core business strategy. And when it's come to Ewake and Poone, like, I think they embodies these two great traits that for us necessary for building great product companies. One is they are very opinionated about the problems. So when we invest, there's no product. So it's very hard to assess and opinionate the products, but there is always available the insights and how the founders thinks about the problem. In the past, I always spoke about new category myself, but eventually new categories are unsolved problems. And so when you find Poone, they have insider's view into the observability world and how observability software was working, but also they have an outsider point of view on how to solve it. And so they are a classic example of a founding team that like a singular insights on a problem. Now there is a new solution that was not possible before to solve these problems at a better way. Right? So for years, the way to cope with preventing incident was like collecting trillions and petabytes of data to be able to then basically retrofit and reverse engineer where the problem is. It can take 2 or 3 days, right? And when I said like mission-led product founders like Poone, then they say, okay, what there must be a better way to do it. And then the LLMs and the generative AI was there to offer them a better way to solve the problem.
Pietro, I want to ask you one question before I go to Poone, and that is just, you're product centric. And there's also a concept called product-led growth, which when you say that you're product focused and product this and product that, you do not mention product-led growth specifically. And maybe just you'd expand on that, because
Yes.
it is a specific.
Yes, Andreas,
those are two different things.
Thanks for asking me, because this product-led, it creates confusion. So now we talk about product companies or product first, because product-led, people then automatically confuse with product-led growth. Like, are very different things. Product-led growth is how you grow your business, and having a great product is very efficient, right? Sometimes is it not enough. Like, you also have to do marketing, you also have to do content, you also have to do sales, you have to do a lot of things that you have to do. Of course, if your customer can find the product in an organic way or in a viral way, and then use the product without hours of demo and top down, that helps a lot. But product-led company and product-led founders that we call product first to avoid the confusion is a way higher abstraction. It's basically, how do you think about the business? And it's not just about strategy. It's just like, where do you spend the money? We believe that always, and of course at the early stage, pre-seed, seed, series A, because you are building the product. But even when you are way at scale up, you always have to focus and allocate most of your capital in product development. And in those companies that we saw in direct experience that didn't manage to go beyond 50 million or 100 million in revenues, is because they failed to build product too at some point, right? So the problem is always there. Is never solved perfectly. So the great product founders, the best product companies, they always find a better way, a new way to solve the problem better. And then you basically go through a cycle of innovation, and you keep building product one, product two, you expand to adjacent problems. That's where you create multi-billion dominant product companies. And for my job is retrofit all this thinking at day zero. And again, when you talk to Poone, like you see, they don't talk about, we need to market and positioning, how to bring this to market. Right? It's like, look, we know there is a problem. We will tinkering the technology that is very novel to find the solution. And if tomorrow come out better models, great. That will help the company, right? Even to be better at what they're doing. Hopefully, I clarify the two differences between product-led growth and product companies and product founders mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Because product-led growth is a very specific go-to-market approach. It's not to be confused with that. Poone, now I'd love to ask you, you've managed to pull together what many founders out there would love to do, which is a 2 million pre-seed round before you have a product. Could you talk a bit about what you think were the most important ingredients in being able to do that?
From my point of view, what is important is, if you are solving a problem, you know why this problem exists and where it exists. So I think one of the privilege that we had was, as Pietro said, when we talk about the problem that we are solving, it's so natural for us because we lived it. We lived it over years. We had the privilege again to work in one of the biggest ad tech companies in the world, Crypto, where reliability is everything. And when you know the problem on that level, you can convince everyone. You can convince the first employees, you can convince investors. We even knew from first that where we want to get these insights, which is kind of interesting. We were like, maybe in the future it changes, but we were like, we are always doing a lot of things on Slack as an engineer. And if I want to have a teammate, it shouldn't be just opening another tab, because I'm already overwhelmed with opening many tabs at the same time. So I want to have it somewhere that I am talking with my other colleagues during incidents or whatever. I want to say it was so overwhelming for me, the problem, and it was so painful as an engineer that I was sure that if I don't solve it, there are other people that will solve it. So it should be me that I want to solve it, because why not? Because if it's me that I'm like New Year's Eve at 3 a.m., I got called and I just didn't know what to do. I need something that just helped me as an engineer to decide. And AI is built for that. It's built to empower a human to decide faster. What use case exactly AI fits very well is where you have a lot of data, a lot of context, and you want to decide faster. And this was like, okay, this should get fixed with AI or AI agents. The technology can be different, but AI is there to just understand huge amount of context and then just empower human to decide faster and understand better what is going on.
And here's a stellar example of the product-focused founder that is asked about how you raced around and end up talking about the problem and the product.
She touched on another great point that is for us is a great sign of those kind of like problem mindset that I was talking about. And it's not about being opinionated about the problem, but also obsessed about the user experience, because they were the users of the observability tools. You can see the thinking of like, okay, how does that should work? It should be another tab or should be into the Slack? It should be another data or should be morning. And for me, as an investor, like I really, really value these two things. There are people coming from fintech. There are people coming from consultancy. There are people that were excellent repeat entrepreneurs. And so it depends what is your lens on as an investor. Like we always prefer backing people with insights. They understand the user, they have empathy for the user, and they're like overly technical and can take on the technology out of the product rather than on the execution. And it's very different investment style. And so, yes, Poone is her first rodeo as a founder. She's a first-time founder. And so, yes, we overweight insights and product mindset and what we call founder market fit over execution.
Many would posit that if you had two teams working on the same thing, one come with Poone's background and one come with a serial entrepreneur background, the VCs will go for the latter. What makes you feel comfortable and why are you ready to discount the serial entrepreneur's experience in scaling and so on, versus why do you say that the insights into the market is so important? It's so like, this is where you're betting.
We think that everything starts with the product. So kind of like the execution, the company building and the go-to-market comes after. You can't start from then. You need to start with building something the customer wanted. Again, if you break it down and unpack, it's all about what are the founder's vision, what do they know about the problem, what are their opinion to build the product, right? These are things you can't outsource, you can't buy. Actually, when you have product market fit, then you can go and buy execution. You can buy, people that already done that, senior engineer, senior go-to-marketer, and you can grow as a founder's team into that, right? So you start with a hypothesis and you build a product, and then you build a company, you scale. But these are competencies that come after, right? We at Pre-Seed Seed, we can't compromise on product vision, right? Because that's where everything starts. That doesn't mean that having experience as a founder is a negative. It is a positive. Sometimes, not always a positive, because there are also some biases, negative biases that repeat founders have, right?
Yeah, they've done a market motion, go-to-market motion before that. They then are
They saw how hard it is to build distribution. They go all around on the other side of the spectrum, and there is this, first-time founders obsessed about product, repeat founders obsessed about distribution, right? Which is true as long as they also don't stop obsessing about product.
We are very focused now on design partnership because I would say with AI agents, you need to keep human in the loop for a long time and you need to maximize the engagement and the feedback. A real success for a company like Ewake is they trust Ewake during critical moments, for example, like incidents. That is a real success for an AI agent because You can build AI agents in many different ways for many different use cases, but building it for critical moments is one of the hardest one, which means that we really believe in design partnership, that your clients, specifically early ones, should be your design partners, which is the case now. And we are closely working with them to understand exactly where AI agent can bring value in which workflow, because if you are building a teammate, you are getting like partially part of the job that the engineers they don't like, and you need to understand where it is exactly, where it fits. And as Pietro said in one of the articles that he wrote, the AI is the new UX kind of. So you need to understand exactly from getting the feedback from users as the user journey, how to fit it again to your algorithm. It's not anymore the UX of the product, it's the whole product that you are building. It needs the feedback of the users. At the same time, when you are building dev tools, you are dealing with the most intelligent, the smartest people in the world, that they are so opinionated about what you are building, engineers. And so it's very cool to be very close to them, understanding what they think about it. And if I mean, if they wanted to build this product, how they built it. I mean, it's so insightful. And everyone in our company is so obsessed with the feedback, with the users, with the product. And we use Ewake at first for Ewake. So we see how internally our developers are relating with the answer that Ewake is bringing up. And if it has the standard that they like it as developers, then we say, okay, this feature worth to add, or this workflow worth to add. But we are at that stage now, very closely working with the users and with the design partners to understand where exactly it fits, to bring a real value, which is sustainable value, not just adding AI for the matter of adding AI, which is very important, I would say. So the product is getting built, but also it is important the fact that building this kind of product, which is working with different types of data and structured, unstructured, is kind of difficult, specifically because our AI agents are using the tools that are built for human, not for AI agents. All the tools that we are getting data from are built for human, and now we need to change the game and kind of use this data as an operator on top of those data tools. But being very focused on the users, I think, is the most important step in building a great product, and that we are there now.